everyone. Today we're going to be modeling how I want you to do the Foursquare with us. So we're going to be talking about reading the problem several times, figuring out what our title could be. We're going to be looking for the important information and finding the model, creating a number sentence, and estimating to make sure we're on the right track whenever we're actually solving the problem, and then checking our work to make sure that our answer is reasonable. Let's go ahead and read the problem first. Mike went on vacation to Ohio. He traveled 7,219 miles on the first day of his vacation, 8,192 miles on the second day of vacation, and 4,327 miles on the third day of vacation. What was the combined mileage traveled on the first 2 days of vacation? So right off the bat, he must be flying just because it takes about 2 days to drive 3,000 miles. That would be like driving from California all the way across America to New York almost, or further. So let's see, what is this mostly about? We're going to try to find our title first. And while we're reading, we're going to highlight some important information to kind of give us some clues on what we should do to solve the problem. Mike went on vacation to Ohio. He traveled 7,219 miles on the first day. That sounds important, so I'm going to highlight it. Of his vacation, 8,192 miles on the second day vacation. That sounds important too. And 4,327 miles on the third day. Sounds important too, so I'm going to highlight that. What was the combined mileage traveled on the first 2 days of vacation? So this says combined mileage traveled on the first 2 days. Now that sounds like the question, so I'm going to highlight it in another color. I'm going to choose green because I like green. This says the first 2 days of vacation. So if I wasn't reading carefully, they were trying to trick me. I don't think I really need this third day of vacation right here, so I'm going to highlight it in red so I know that I don't need it. Okay, first let's think of the title of this. I'm going to say Mike's vacation. He's going somewhere, but he's going to Ohio. You could title it something different, that's just what came to my mind. Mike traveled, how far did Mike travel? He traveled day 1, he traveled 7,219 miles. On day 2, he traveled 8,192 miles. I'm not going to write day 3 because I don't need it. Okay, so what was the combined mileage traveled on the first 2 days? So what is the question asking me to find? It's asking me to combine miles traveled in first 2 days. Find miles traveled in the first 2 days. That is very important. I want to make sure that I type that part out, 2 days, because I don't need everything, just the first 2. Okay, now I know that combine usually tells us that we're putting something together. Like if we're combining ingredients, we're adding them all into a bowl. Or combining cereal, we have to combine the milk and the cereal to get our actual breakfast. So I know that the parts go up here in the model for addition. We're adding, we're combining. So one part is going to be the 7,219 miles. And the other part is going to have to be the other part that we know, 8,192 miles. And what we don't know is the total traveled in 2 days. So I'm going to put T for total. I like that being in the middle, so I'm going to move it to the middle. And we're done with that first step. Okay, so we filled in our title, we have our important information in our model. We know how far he traveled on day 1, day 2, and now we're trying to find how far he traveled on days 1 and 2 combined first 2 days. So we set up our model. Now I want to make sure we have our number sentence the way that it needs to be. So to set up our number sentence correctly, we want to make sure that we're going based on what we have in our model. So I have 7,219, and I'm going to add 8,192 to that. And that is going to equal T. Don't know what that is yet. That's what we're trying to solve for. That's what we're trying to find out. The miles that he traveled in days 1 and 2. But I don't know what that is right off the top of my head. So I'm going to try to estimate so I know that whenever I do solve it, I'm getting closer or further away than what I need to. So 7,219 is close to what? So that tells me I need to round. And I know I'm rounding to the thousands place because they both have a ones place. They both have a tens place, a hundreds place, and a thousands place. And when we add and estimate, that tells us that we need to go to the highest place value that the number has in common. Okay, so I'm going to underline my thousands place, circle the number next door. 2 is going to round down, which tells us that the 7 stays the same and everything else turns into a 0. So we need to write that in our box up here. I have 7,000. I'm going to do the same thing with my 8,192. So I have 8,192. I'm going to underline my highest place value. I'm going to circle the number next door. 1 is going to round down. So that tells me 8 is going to stay the same. And I'm going to have zeros all behind it. It does not matter what the other numbers are. We are only looking at the number 1. We only look right next door. 1 rounds down and it turns it into 8,000. So I'm going to write 8,000 right here. And then I can add 7,000 and 8,000. I know 7 plus 8 is going to give me 15. So I'm going to write 15 right here. And how many zeros did it have? 1, 2, 3. So 7,000 plus 8,000 is going to give us 15,000. And what we just did is take our estimation, we added it together, and that tells us that our answer when we solve should be somewhere around 15,000 miles. Good to know. Now we can get on to solving. And when we move on to solving, we want to make sure that we have our numbers where they need to be. So we know we added 7,000 and 8,000. So that tells us we're going to add our 7,219 and 8,192. We add them together, start solving. 9 plus 2, that's going to give me 11. Bring my 1 up here to the tens place. 9 plus 1 is going to give me 11 again. 1, bring the other one over. Now I have 2 plus 1 plus 1. That gives me 4. Then I have 7 plus, I have nothing to carry over, 0. 7 plus 7 plus 8, that's going to give me 15, but I can't write 15 right here. I need to bring my 1 over again. 1 plus nothing is going to give me 1. So my answer when I solved was 15,411. So that tells me that we were pretty close to our estimate. It even has 15 right there. So now let's just check our work. So I have put my 15,411 on top because that was our total, and we need to take one of these numbers away and we can see if we get the other. So if I have 15,411 and I took away my 7,219, that tells me that I should be able to get 8,192 if we have the right answer. So let's go ahead and start. I want to take away 9 from 1. I know that I can't do that. 1 minus 9 isn't something that we can do right now. So I'm going to have to regroup or borrow. So my 1 turns into a 0, and my 1's place is now 11. So I borrowed, now I regrouped. So my 1 is now an 11. So 11 minus 9 is going to give me 2. I can't take away 1 from 0, so again I have to borrow. My 4 turns into a 3. My 0 is now a 10. Now I can take away 1 from 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. I can take away 2 from 3 because 3 minus 2 is 1. And I can't take away 7 from 5, so I'm going to need to borrow. I take my 1, it turns into a 0 because I borrowed, and now that 5 is a 15. 15 minus, so I didn't close it out. Yeah. 15 minus 7 is 8. And so since I got the same answers from 8,192, 8,192, and our answer was pretty close to our estimate, that tells me that when we solved, we got the right answer and it was reasonable. Thank y'all for watching.